This is the Capitol Rundown.
I am honored that you have put your trust in me to continue leading our beautiful state.
Debbie Stabenow, out of the blue, she says, you know what, I'm going to finish out my 2 years that I have in office, and then it's adios, amigos.
Today is a reminder that we've got a lot of work to do, that our challenges are really big.
It's all straight ahead. The Capitol Rundown starts now.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Siobhan Klepfer. The first week of the new year also brings the winners of November's statewide midterm elections back to work and with new terms. This includes Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Attorney General Dana Nessel, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. They were all officially sworn in again. During her inauguration ceremony, Governor Whitmer laid out her priorities going into her second term. Those include focusing on public education, bringing manufacturing jobs back to Michigan, and tackling inflation. In addition, she pledged to pursue common sense gun reform, continue investing in K-12 education, and focusing on climate change.
My fellow Michiganders, I am honored that you have put your trust in me to continue leading our beautiful state.
In Benson's speech during her swearing in, the Secretary of State called Michigan a national leader in fair and secure elections, and that the midterms saw historically high voter turnout. Staying with Governor Whitmer, she's scheduled to make her fifth State of the State address on January 25th in the House chambers. State officials say she'll outline her goals that will help Michiganders in the near future. This includes expanding job opportunities and protecting fundamental rights. This year's address can be seen on local TV channels online at michigan.gov, Facebook, and YouTube. U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow made major headlines this week with a major announcement concerning next year's election. Up next, what she had to say about 2024 and beyond. Michigan Senator Debbie Stabenow surprised everyone this week by announcing that she will not run again in 2024. Up until a couple of weeks ago, she said she was raising funds and was planning to run. Stabenow added that she went back and forth on retirement, but finally concluded it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of leaders. Our Capitol correspondent Tim Skubic is here for now to discuss her decision.
One of the beautiful things about covering politics is you just never know when you wake up in the morning what the next story is going to be. And the one that surprised everybody this week is somebody who's very close to all of us in the TV6 viewing area, Debbie Stabenow. Out of the blue, she says, you know what, I'm going to finish out my 2 years that I have in office, and then it's adios, amigos. She said she will retire. We had an opportunity to talk to the good senator, whom we've covered dating back to her days at the Ingham County Board of Commissioners. By the way, she was the youngest and the first female to be the chair of that commission. She also, a lot of people laughed at this, but she was a singer. She was a saloon singer and a folk singer, and actually had a gig for a time at the Coral Gables Rathskeller years ago, downstairs at the restaurant. And so she's had an interesting career. But anyway, in our discussion and in her statement, she said basically that she was making this decision based on two things. One, she's confident that there is a group of younger leaders now who are ready to step in and replace her. And two, she's got a 96-year-old mom, and she, quote, would like the flexibility to be able to take care of her without the, quote, rigors of a campaign. She also has grandkids. She's got her own children. And so her basic statement was, I'm doing this for family. Well, as everybody knows in politics, that's sort of the standard line. Anytime anybody says, I'm going to retire, I want to spend more time with the family. And in many cases, not all, but in many cases, there's a hidden agenda of something else going on there as to why they are leaving office. So in that light of a doubting Thomas, or doubting Timothy in this case, we rattled off the other issues that might be at play, and she denied all of them. She does not have any health issues. She is not burned out. She doesn't have a lucrative job offer. And she's basically just thinking this is the right time to do it. The question will be who replaces her, and the list of people not running is actually shorter than the list of people who are, because these seats don't open up. There are 2 U.S. Senate seats. Gary Peters has 1. Now this is open, and these don't open up every 2 or 3 years. Once you get in the U.S. Senate, you pretty much stay there as long as you want to or have to. So it'll be an interesting story just to see who the R's put up, who the D's put up. But for sure, Ms. Stabenow says she's not going to leave early because there's going to be some pressure on her. If she were to retire next year and allow the governor to appoint a replacement, that replacement would be a Democrat. And that Democrat would then run the next year as the incumbent, which is a huge leg up over any Republican who would get in the race. But Ms. Stabenow says she's not going to do that. She's going to, quote, run to the tape. However, there will be some people in this town who will want to move that tape just a little closer to next year and not 2 years out.
Staying on the state scene, Michigan Democrats won control of the House of Representatives for the first time in more than a decade. They'll return to the Capitol this week with the slimmest of majorities, 56 votes to the Republicans' 54. That ought to be enough for Democrats to elect Joe Tate as the Speaker. However, if just one Democrat flips, it could ruin those plans. So here's Tim Skubic again, who says a Detroit Democrat is being courted to do just that.
We ran a story this week that said there was the possibility, underscore the possibility, that Joe Tate, who would be the first African-American Speaker of the Michigan House, might be denied that post because the Republicans were working behind the scenes to take away one of the 56 votes that he needs to become Speaker. And all eyes were on Representative Karen Whitsett, a Democrat from Detroit. She is the 56th vote, if you will, on this issue, and the Republicans went to her through back channels and directly and basically said, you know what, if you don't show up next Wednesday, Mr. Tate might not become Speaker. There was lobbying going on, but she now has put all of this to rest, supposedly, by saying that she's going to support Mr. Tate. The Democrats basically went to her and said, look, if you defect, if you don't side with us on the speakership, you can basically write your district off from getting any kind of state aid at all. We'll zero you out. And I think she got the message. So that story of a possible mutiny, if that's the right word, to deny Joe Tate the speakership apparently is not going to work, but it won't be final until next Wednesday. So we'll keep an eye on the story for you to see if indeed this comes to pass.
All right, thank you, Tim. Coming up, new local leaders were announced and a historic swearing-in ceremony was held. That and much more is coming up after the break. Welcome back. In Michigan's capital city, Lansing City Council member Carol Wood became the new president of the council after being elected to the position by the other members in last week's council meeting. Wood first joined the council in 1999, and she's held the president position several times over the years.
Most important things are transparency so the public knows what we're doing and why we're doing it, and accountability. Whether it is accountability from council, the administration, the people that are doing the work in the different departments. Oftentimes people feel that when they have issues that there aren't people listening to them.
Also at the meeting, council member Jeremy Garza was elected to the vice president position, and Ryan Cost was sworn in, joining the council for the first time. Staying in Lansing, it was a historic week at the Capitol building as State Representative Sarah Anthony was sworn in as the first African-American woman to represent Mid-Michigan in the state's Senate. Anthony defeated her Republican opponent Ken Gay Robertson with 60% of the vote to represent the 21st district. She officially crosses over from the House at a time of a drastic power shift in Lansing, with Democrats having control of not only the governor's office but also both the Senate and House.
I am just excited to get to work. When you're campaigning for months and months and months and talking to people, sometimes you forget what the job is going to be. And so today is a reminder that we've got a lot of work to do, that our challenges are really big, but I just love the spirit that's in this room, which is full of people with a lot of hope.
During her 4-year term, she says she'll focus on making health care more accessible and affordable, supporting economic development, safeguarding public education, and helping create a fair criminal justice system. And this week, the full Senate state legislature will be getting back to work with a lot of new faces. Capitol correspondent Tim Skubic is back this time with a look at who they are.
The 148 lawmakers working under the dome for the next 2 years are a diverse lot coming from all sorts of backgrounds. About the only people missing are the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. In the new legislature, there are 54 new House members, that's out of 110, and 4 new senators out of 38, but 12 of those came over from the Michigan House. Not only do females hold the top 3 jobs in the state, governor, attorney general, and secretary of state, but there are now 45 women in the Michigan House, or about 40% of that body, and over in the Senate, it's 40% of females making up that chamber. According to the Bridge newsletter, 52% of the House members come from local government and education, and 45% in the Senate share that same background. 17 lawmakers are former teachers, 25 come from the business sector, 13 have a military background, and 12 come from agriculture. 80% of the House members and 90% of the Senate have a college education, and 1/3 of those have an advanced degree on top of that. And there are 7 gay members in both chambers, but due to new voting district lines, African Americans actually lost 4 seats. They now have 17 members in the Michigan House and Senate. With regard to age, 47% of all members are between 41 and 60, and 18% are over the age of 60. This diverse group of lawmakers get down to your business starting next week. Here for you in Lansing, Tim Skubic.
Coming up next on The Rundown, a new year brings new legislation to life. We'll take a look at what Michiganders can look forward to in 2023. For the first time in state history, minimum wage in Michigan is more than $10 an hour. It climbed from $9.87 to $10.10. The tipped minimum wage went up to $3.84 this year, and the 85% rate for minors 16 and 17 also went up at the start of the year. Now, this increase was set by the Michigan's Improved Workforce Opportunity Act of 2018. But even with the minimum wage increase, some small business owners say it's still not enough.
The rise of inflation, rent, housing, all the things out there really affect the way that people can live. And at that rate, it's just not staying up to date with what is happening out there with the inflation.
Michigan now ranks 29th in the country for the highest minimum wage. As gas prices continue to fluctuate, one thing that can be a constant is Michigan's newly increased gas tax. Our state gas tax is now at 28.6 cents per gallon. That's up about $0.015 cents. A new law signed by Governor Rick Snyder increases the gas tax every year and began in 2022. The law says the increase will be 5% or the inflation rate, whichever is lower. Combined with other state and federal taxes on gas, Michiganders pay about 70 cents per gallon in total. Speaking of taxes, after a lengthy legal battle, the public is finally getting a first look at former President Donald Trump's tax returns. Our Washington correspondent Raquel Martin is here for you now with what these thousands of pages of documents can reveal.
Thanks to House Democrats, former President Donald Trump's once secret finances are on the front page.
3 of those 6 years, the president paid less than $1,000 in taxes. 1 year, he paid $0.
Congressman Don Beyer is one of the House Democrats who voted to publish Trump's 2015 to 2020 federal tax returns. Trump is the first president since Richard Nixon not to release them on his own.
This is the most important person in the world, supervising the largest expenses in the world. So you want to make sure that there aren't conflicts.
Republican geopolitical strategist Rena Shaw says the tax documents give Americans just a glimpse of the former president's finances.
Good snapshot of how Trump took advantage of the American tax code to benefit himself, his family, his businesses. But does it give the fullest, clear picture? I'm not quite sure.
The documents revealed Trump held bank accounts in China, the UK, and Ireland during his first couple of years in the White House, and avoided U.S. taxes by claiming credits for taxes he paid on overseas business ventures. Trump attacked the release of his tax returns. In a statement, he says, quote, The Democrats should have never done it, the Supreme Court should have never approved it, and it's going to lead to horrible things for so many people. Retiring House Republican Kevin Brady warns,
Democrats on the Ways and Means Committee have unleashed a dangerous new political weapon.
Republicans will take control of the House when lawmakers return to Washington next week. They've already vowed to launch their own series of investigations into Democratic figures. For now in Washington, Raquel Martin, back to you.
Coming up, we'll have the latest from Washington, D.C. as the Republican Party continues to look for its new House Speaker. Welcome back. In Washington, D.C., a possible breakthrough in the stalemate to name a new House Speaker. Republican leader Kevin McCarthy was able to flip 14 Republicans who had voted against him late Friday. However, there are still 6 holdouts voting against him, and McCarthy needs 2 of them to change their minds. Now, this is the first time McCarthy has gained any momentum in these votes, but it remains to be seen what, if anything, he can do to sway the remaining holdouts. Some moderate Republicans say they're worried about going too far in these backroom deals. The vote for Speaker has now become the longest contest in 164 years. During that vote, Democratic Congresswoman Elissa Slotkin voted for Representative Hakeem Jeffries, while Republican Tim Walberg cast his vote for the embattled GOP leader Kevin McCarthy. Speaking of Representative Slotkin, though, she issued a statement about her legislative priorities for the upcoming session, saying in part, "In this new term, I'm eager to work across the aisle to continue to address the challenges everyday Michiganders face by lowering the cost of prescription drugs and health care, bringing our manufacturing jobs back to the United States, protecting Michigan's lakes and environment, and honoring our commitment to our veterans." If you're interested in getting more political news from Michigan and Washington, we've got just the thing for you. You can sign up for our Capitol Rundown newsletter. It's just 1 email each week, and you can get it by pointing your cell phone camera at your screen right now. It will take you to our sign up page, or you can head to WLNS.com/newsletters. And that's our show for this week. Thanks for watching the Capitol Rundown.